Let me hit record. Recording and streaming, you are good to go, Chuck.
Okay, at 6:05, I call the Finance Committee to order. Brian, if you would please give us a roll call.
Keller,
Present.
Hankinson,
Present.
Cosgray,
Cosgray will be absent.
Okay, also in the attendance tonight, we have the mayor, we have the village administrator, and we have Brian Bibler. And I see Randy on as a council member and Rick Foreman. And of course, Barb is on during the taking the minutes. Anybody else on there? I miss? Okay. Approval of the minutes. Do everybody have a chance to read the minutes over? If so, I need a motion to accept the minutes.
This is Hankinson. I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
And Chuck Keller was seconding the motion. Roll call. Brian?
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson.
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve as emailed out. Visitors, I don't think there's any on there, is there, Mayor?
Nope. And I since we do it remotely, it's via email, and I haven't gotten any emails for finance or council or anything recently.
Okay. Goal for 2021, keep spending within the 2021 appropriations. And of course, that would be a big topic tonight because we got to get the budget passed. Okay, old business. Anybody have any old business? Hearing none, we'll go into new business. Brian, you want to go over your the monthlies in?
Okay. Last month we ended up with an overall balance between the bank and the book of $1,902,956.24. We had deposits, transits paid $63.38, which is basically a credit card transaction for the water and sewer bills, and then outstanding checks of $27,427.79. We had, well, I just had to move $5. The other adjusting factor, inflating bank error, $5. That's just moving between the two, the sweep account and the general account. That's basically for a fee that happens every month. That's really about it for the reconciliation. Any questions on the reconciliation itself? Okay.
No, I don't have any, Brian.
Moving on to the payment listing. Like I said earlier last month, $213,644.78 in checks last month. I'm looking at the list and I paid Variety Floors for the new flooring. That was $13,000 last month. That was paid for with COVID relief funds. I did pay the interest on the bonds last month. That's Merchants National Bank. The interest on the new bonds, $9,000, $9,600, I should say. Next payment on the bonds won't be till September or August when I make the payment in August. Then you see a $13,000 transaction to West Tech. That's kind of a new vendor. Towards the end of December, one of the projects that the team was going to do for 2021, they went ahead and pre-ordered the gearbox and supplies with the gearbox, as well as shipping. That's what that transaction's for. South Central power bill was in excess of $10,000 at the water treatment plant last month. I don't see anything else that sticks out in the check register.
Hey, Terry, with the, I know we've talked about it a couple of times with the over $10,000 at South Central, and that's pretty much the water treatment plant. We're now tracking the flow into the plant with electricity consumption so that we can try to figure out if there's well, we know there's a correlation between the two, but exactly what that correlation is, correct?
We're looking at all of those costs. That is correct. But at the last time that we looked at it when it first started, if you remember, Brad said he didn't see how there was that big of an impact, but we will continue to look at that. Yeah.
Maybe for service, I forget what the bill was last month, but we could start to see the electric consumption versus the treated flow, and that can, I don't know, maybe, it might be one of those metrics we look at once or twice and say we don't need any more, but I'd just be interested to see if those lines, how they look compared to each other.
Okay, Brian, is everything, you done everything with your reports?
Well, I do have the finance report. I know that the color page there for last month. I just let you know the interest there was for the Star House. It dropped a little bit more to $35. We had $75,000 in income tax collections. That brings us about dead square with last year at this time. And the revenue status, of course, I think we should be about 14%. So we're meeting that target on the income tax, as you can see in the general fund. We're above the curve on local government distribution right now. A little bit slightly below for contracts for police protection. That should change this month because I invoice the schools for SRO services. We receive that like February or March the 2nd or 3rd this month. And as you can see, we're way above the curve on all other revenues, which when we talk budget-wise, I have modified the projected revenue budgets for the general fund slightly in the miscellaneous receipt area because of the refund we got from the BWC. That's the main reason why that's at 27%. That was like 9,000 of the 13,000.
Okay, I'm looking at the finance report here, February, compare 2020 against 2021. Star Ohio, we're not getting no interest at all, are we?
Not right now, we're not, no. I mean, as you can see from last year, it was a steady decline.
Yeah.
It's like the stock market. I think this is, I mean, basically it's got to start improving somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, go ahead, Bob.
Hey, down there at the fire department, with same thing. They was looking to see if they could find something that had a better rate, but there just ain't nothing out there.
And I will say, even interest with Fairfield National Bank, it was less than Star Ohio last month. It was like $24. And of course, I have to divvy that between 3 or 4 funds. So,
right. Let me ask this, because 2020 was such a weird year, and we don't know what 2020 is going to bring. But 2019, we had some decent interest. What does everyone think of having Brian add the 2019 Star Ohio line on here too, since 2020 is kind of that outlier year, so that we have the 2019, the 2020, and then what we're getting now comparison. Does anybody else want to see that? If no one else is interested, I'll just ask Brian for it occasionally. But if you guys think it'll be helpful, want to see it.
Well, the only thing good about it, Mayor, is, we can see what we have in the Star Ohio back 2 years ago, and we also can see the interest earned, and we all know that it's not going nowhere, at the banks or anywhere. So, I don't have a problem with it if it's not too much of a trouble. Brian wants to put it on there.
I can try to put it on there. I can try to finagle this to do that. Terry might have to help me.
I will. Brian, you can.
But just to let you know, the balance in the Star House $514,549, rounded. I mean, 19, it was like we was getting interest anywhere from $200 or $300, and it went up to, it started increasing towards the end of 19, and it stayed that way. If I recall, and starting after COVID started, as you can see the decline there. So,
Yeah, sure has.
but there is a $500,000 in Star Ohio.
Yeah, I seen that on that one payment. Yeah.
$500,000 that got us $35 in interest.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
But yeah,
that's
okay.
Very good.
So Brian, if we could add that, it'll be an Excel growth moment for you.
All right. Okay, I'll give it my best shot. Terry, you might have to help me.
I will, Brian. You'll be fine.
Yep, you'll be fine.
Okay. Next on line is the appropriation report. Brian, you got that?
Well, I'm not giving it right now because we're still in temporary mode. There's really no point of doing that until we get the budget passed. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a budget here. I got to go back and forth on my iPad to bring it up. Okay, we'll go into the budget in, and I see also that the chief's on here now too, on the meeting, in the committee meeting.
Do we need to vote first, Brian? Do you need to vote first?
They should. Yeah, they should. Someone should motion and approve my reports.
Oh.
District
I move
Hankinson,
that we go ahead, Bob.
I move that we approve the monthly financials.
And I second.
That includes the check registers, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any
right.
discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Okay, a motion carries. Good job, Brian. Okay. Now we'll go into the 2021 budget in.
All right. So Brian, you passed this back out, and we needed to come up with something. Though I see you still have the streets. There's about a $9,000 deficit. So where are we at, Brian, Terry? I'm gonna try to share that.
I'm going to take that, Mayor, about the $9,000. We met with, I met with the team, and we went through all of the budgets. All of the projects and et cetera. And the team feels strongly that instead of trying to take yet another project away, we want to add a project. We wanted to add the project back, which means we would need $44,000 to cover all of the 6 projects that has been proposed for 2021.
So Terry, if we took money out of the general fund and put it into the street fund, we would all have a plus, and where everything would be in the black. Is that correct?
Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe, Chuck, that you need to increase appropriations to cover that project that they had eliminated, which comes to about $44,000 that Tim would need to be in the black. Is that right, Brian?
Well, it's a combination. They would counsel. I mean, if they throw that on, it's going to throw it farther back in the hole. So they're going to. The only way to get out of this alleviation is because of last year when we put all the income tax money into the general fund. The only way to alleviate this is to move some money from the general fund, create a line called transfers into the street fund to alleviate this.
So the short answer to Chuck's question is yeah.
50,000 from the general fund into the street fund. Would that be all right, Brian?
So I'm sorry, what's that?
Take 50,000 out of the general fund, move it over into the street fund, just make it a round figure in.
Well, 44. let's see, 44, 45,000 and 9,000 makes 54. So you might have to move more than 50. I don't think 50 will cover it.
I thought Terry said it with the new
Oh,
project
oh,
added back in, it would
yeah,
be 44.
I'm reading it wrong. You're right. You're right. Yeah, 50,000 will
Okay.
cover it. Yes.
Okay, why don't we amend
Can we-
why don't we amend the budget tonight and with the, and just take the $50,000 general fund into the street fund in?
Okay.
That sounds okay.
Sorry,
I'm making-
would you say, Bob, you got cut out there a little bit?
Oh, I just said that sounds fair to me. I see no problem.
All right. And we've got what, we've got over a $500,000 projected carryover in general fund, so 50,000 out of it shouldn't be a problem this year.
Is everybody happy with that?
I
Okay,
am.
okay. Okay, so when we go into council, you need a motion for that tonight in the finance committee? If so, I'll move that we take 50,000 out of the general fund into the street fund to in this budget that we're going to present to council tonight.
Yeah, I'm making the changes as I speak because I got two computers right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay for the motion on that. But these changes I'm making to the budget, I hope you're writing it down because I'll provide you with a final copy. I won't have that done tonight, but if you pass it, then I'll provide you with the copies.
Right. And so doing the math real quick, if we transfer 50,000 in and it's 9,136 in the hole right now, that would put your projected carryover line there, Brian, at 40,864. Is that what you're going to make it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, the projected carryover would be 0 because the projects will, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, and we'll just make sure in the council motion as well that we specify that, just like Chuck just did, and it should be okay.
Yeah, and I can, when we have the third reading, of course, we have to take it off the table and put it back on, that I can amend the budget that what we did here in the committee.
Yep.
So everybody know what we're doing.
So Brian's got to do a roll call on your motion here real quick.
Okay, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankerson,
Yes.
Any more discussion on what we've been talking about on the budget? Hearing none. Oh, wow, we passed it in. Yeah. You had a roll kid, didn't you? Yeah, never mind. Been a long day. Okay.
okay. Terry,
Yes,
we want to go on, continue on.
yes. So we're going to talk about the service truck. If you remember, one of the things that we had asked Brian to budget for was $75,000 for the service truck for our electrician. I don't know if you know or not, but the truck has not been running for about 2 months and he's driving the little gray car around. What I did is I asked him to, after we had a conversation, Mr. Foreman had suggested, why are we buying used vehicles? Why don't we just go out and buy a new one and make payments and then last longer? We don't have anybody's problems from buying used. So the bids for this year, the state bids are not out currently. But we went back to Coughlin Ford and asked them to give us their best price based on last year's bid, which they will honor. And the price of this truck started out at, I don't have the numbers in front of me, Brian, so correct me if I'm saying it wrong, 58,000, I think it was.
No, it was what the email I have from you is 49,986.
But what was the original sticker price?
Yeah, 58,500. Yeah, that 58,000 was correct. Yes.
So that is what the sticker price started out with. He will give it to us for 49, just a little over 49. He also will take the service truck on trade. And then what we would like to do is to go out to another car dealership who has what I call a tall cab. So in other words, the purpose of this is, if you remember, we talked last week about getting a camera to so that we can look at the sewer, go through the sewer and whatever else we need. Mr. Little said, we talked about this at staff and brainstormed. And the nice thing about getting, I want to say an extended cab up, not sideways, but it goes up, is that he can protect all the electronic equipment by sitting inside the van, much like the chief would if he was staking out a house or whatever, is where I see it. So he'll have a full down table in there. They'll be able to put all the electronics inside that van. So when they go to do a job, they're not standing on the street trying to run the camera and all of that stuff. So that's an additional $17,000. So what I asked Brian to do was go to the bank and ask them, if we borrowed this much money, how much would our payment be? Because currently, as Brian has pointed out, the street truck that Tim operates mainly comes out of the street fund because, well, it's Tim's major truck to use. On the other hand, Mr. Little does most of his work within the water and the wastewater kind of atmosphere, maybe sometimes the parks. Well, today he was at the pool. So yeah, but instead of taking it out of the street fund, Brian's proposal, which I think is a good one, is that we take it, distribute it over the water, wastewater, and some from the general because of the parks and the pool. Is that correct, Brian?
No. I suggest paying for it out of the water and sewer debt service funds. Because Tim
That's
utilized
right, your idea. Okay, explain your idea, Brian. That was a very good one.
Well, the way you explain it, the other truck, I mean, we couldn't prorate out between the three because it's 95% used by Tim anyway. This one's going to be used 95% between the utilities. We have some excess in the water and sewer debt service funds. I think if council would want to, they could pay for this out of those funds if they dictated in an ordinance when they authorize, if they would authorize the purchase of the vehicle. Also, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's it, Brian. You're right.
Yeah. I'm overthinking it.
Yes, you are. So in other words, going along the thought of buying a new vehicle, paying for it not solely out of streets, who usually gets tapped for all of the payments, but paying for it out of the water and sewer, where again, the majority of the time that he is working in the electrical it's out of those two funds, and then they could come out of the debt fund or the improvement fund, Brian.
It'd be the debt service funds, not the improvement funds.
Right. Does that make sense, everyone?
Well, I'm a little confused on the vehicle because we asked in the original budget there was $75,000 for a used vehicle, and now for a new vehicle.
Used, Brad. We just threw the 75 out, saying we would look for used vehicles, but we also, this is how much a new one would cost. So the 75 was top dollar. And then
no, that's fine. I thought there was a vehicle identified, and so I was wondering how we went from 75 on a potential used one down to 50 on a new one. But if that was just the price point to hold to budget for, then that makes sense.
For a placeholder in the budget. And then when we did go out, and I think we have, and I can share those with everyone because Mr. Little did do his homework, and we have about 7 used ones that we identified, and they're pretty close to what we could pay for a brand new one from Coghlan, just because they hold their value. But then again, we have the issues that someone was trying to get rid of. So does that make sense now?
That would, and also that would encompass modifying the projected revenues, because I have got information from the bank. I haven't got it in an email yet. The underwriters have it. You're looking at approximately 2.5% interest, maybe a little bit more than that. It won't be over 3, I know that. And the payment terms will not be monthly. I'm working on the deal where, like Tim's truck, I pay every 6 months for like 4 years.
May I ask a quick question? Did a service package come with that too, since it's new?
No, I don't have that quote in front of me, but I do believe for the first year. I'll have to look for it. I'm sorry, Brandy. I can send you
No,
the
no, I
quote.
was just curious.
In fact,
And so it's essentially $50,000 for the truck, but then it adds $17,000 to get the extended on it.
extended height one, yes. Yes.
The extended height one. So
Yes.
it's $50,000 for the regular utility truck. It's $67,000 for the one with the extended height.
To have it added on. That's correct. Yes.
What added on? So it is.
Right.
Is it a-
It comes from a different automobile supplier. So it doesn't come from Coghlan because it's a specialized cover. So that's why I said add on. So it's in.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not an aftermarket modification. It's
No,
built
it's not.
like that.
Yes, I believe so, Terry. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess, so you're looking at around 66,000. Now, that including the trade-in, correct?
That doesn't, I do not believe that includes the trade-in. And I think they said they give us up to 1,500, which I believe is just about what we thought we would be lucky if we could get out of the other one.
Oh,
As-
okay.
And how long until delivery? If we, pull the trigger on this tonight with the budget and
Yeah.
you place the order tomorrow, how long until delivery?
Oh, I'd say within the next 30 days, we'd have it sitting in the driveway. Probably shorter than that. They move pretty quick.
Mayor, let me ask you a question. Even though we put these figures into the budget, which we can, wouldn't council also have to authorize us to buy this in another separate ordinance? Like we
Yeah,
did the last.
Yes.
Yeah, because we would be signing a payment contract for it, and it's more than $50,000. So yeah,
Right.
council would. So they couldn't really pull the trigger on it tomorrow, but for purposes of seeing how quickly we could get it. And actually, while they have to authorize it via another ordinance, I think if council includes it and maybe made the motion tonight, that could at least let Coughlin know that we're coming, that at the next council meeting, there would be the ordinance to approve the payment terms. And that would also give you the authority to go ahead and get the information from the bank so that council has all of that at the next council meeting.
Yes, they're working on it. The underwriters, they were working on it as of this afternoon. So.
But yeah, you are correct. Even if it's in the budget and appropriated, because there's the payment terms, we would need another ordinance for it.
So the only other thing would be, council needs to decide upon on this truck. I mean, is it going to be, 50-50 between the water and sewer debt service funds? When they project this, the revenues have to be 50-50, or is it 60-40? That's council to decide on.
And just for clarification, because it may occasionally get used for a street, but in order to pull it out of those two debt service funds, it can have no street fund contribution.
Well, that's the tricky part, Mayor. 95% of Tim's truck, is used for the street, but I'm sure he used it on water breaks and stuff. So, that's a gray area. I don't think anybody would question that.
Okay, so if we just call it 50-50 or something like that, and it occasionally shows up at a street project, it'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Okay.
Brian, I got one question. Do we have to borrow the whole amount, or is there any money in the sewer or the water debt fund that we can pay part of it down?
Unfortunately, there's hardly any wiggle room in the water fund, as you can see. And the sewer has more of a wiggle room than the water. However, I just say finance the whole thing.
Okay, and you're talking about somewhere around 4 years in.
Yeah, I haven't got that piece down. I haven't
Yeah.
nailed it down. You're looking at 4 or 5 years.
Yep. So,
And
okay.
so, Brian, you said, we don't have a lot of wiggle room in the water debt fund right now.
No,
but
not the water
as
debt,
revenue,
the water fund, and
So-
we don't have no in the water fund, not the water debt fund, not the sewer debt fund. We're getting our funds commingled here.
Okay. Yeah.
Is the
All right.
water?
So this will be paid out of the water and sewer
Debt service funds, 50/50.
debt service funds,
Yes,
50/50.
and the proceeds.
there's not-
And the proceeds will also have to go into those funds too.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll see a transfer in once the loan comes in to go out.
Actually, the proceeds with 50/50 it would be in the water fund and the sewer fund because I'd pay for it. The bank will write a check to I'm just thinking in my head how I have to account for this in the books. The proceeds of the loan will go into the water and sewer fund. So the proceeds and the related expenditure for the truck will go into those funds. We just need to appropriate that into those funds. And then we retire the debt as they come due out of the water and sewer debt service funds. That make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we have the ordinance to do this, you'll need actually 2 ordinances then, or part of the same ordinance?
It could be all one ordinance.
Okay.
I think it can be 2.
2?
No, I mean also. I'm agreeing with you, Brian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wrong use of the English language there.
Okay, any more discussion on this service truck? If not, I'll move that we take this somewhere around 66,000 loan to buy a service truck from the sewer debt fund and the water debt fund, I guess, if I'm saying that right, Brian, to council.
Chuck, it's actually around 68,000.
68,000, okay. I'm trying to write this all down, okay. Whatever, okay, I'll say 68, making it 68,000. That'd be fine, Brian. I know you got.
I don't have a calculator for 49, 986, and 70. Yeah, it comes like to 67. Yeah, 68,000 should be sufficient.
Will that cover it?
I believe so, yes.
I can make it a little bit more. It's always, it's not that.
Why don't we just round it up to 70 and then
70,000.
And then we can always give back.
Okay. I'll change that motion and I'll move that we get a $70,000 loan for a service truck from the sewer debt fund and the water debt fund.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, any more discussion on this service truck? Hearing none, roll call, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that will go to council tonight.
Oh, okay, now what that'll do to the budget then is increase the projected revenues in the water and sewer funds by 35,000 each. And also increase the appropriations, capital outlay appropriations in the water and sewer funds by the same 35,000.
Okay, Brian, so when tonight at council, when we bring up the ordinance for the budget, it's all got to be amended. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. That's why we got to amend it for the 50,000 and also getting this loan for the service truck.
yes, so far, yeah.
Okay. I will make sure we're on the same page. Okay, any more new business? Anybody have any new business? Hearing none, our next
Terry?
meeting will be,
Hold on,
Terry?
wait.
what?
Terry, are you done with the list?
What
Where'd
what
Terry-
else do? Okay, help me, Brian. Are you talking the camera?
Yeah, the camera, the pool,
Okay. All right.
the sewer reline.
Moving on to my list.
Oh,
So-
okay.
If you remember last when we talked about the park market and park, we talked about going out and looking at a camera to see how much it would cost. We are in the process of demoing two different cameras, and they both have two different prices on them. So if we're serious about looking for a camera, we're going to have to put some money into the budget to buy one. Like I said, the guys are going to be demoing that next week. And we need to put some money in the budget for it.
I mean, I know we're working on the final budget and stuff, but we've got two cameras and they might not like either of them. Or they might like both of them. And,
Yes.
and I don't always like the idea of having an ordinance to amend appropriations, especially when we just passed the budget. But at least as far as a camera is concerned, if we don't know which camera, if either they will like and they have two different prices, does it make sense to wait until we have more information?
I do agree with you, Mayor. I think I think we'll just have to amend the budget if and when the guys decide what camera they'd like to pursue. So I think that's something that we could put on hold and not discuss tonight until we get a report back from the show and tells from the camera companies. You're right. That's probably pretty good. The other thing is we want to talk about the pool. So we're in the process of, the goal is to open up the pool this year. And again, we have leaks in the bottom and the sides of the pool. The Patterson Pool Company is supposed to be out this week to give us their bid for repairing such. We have already received one bid from a concrete company who has did this kind of work. And that was around 40,000. We're at 36 something, and then we have a new pump that we need to buy. So far right now, I'm up to around 40,000 in repairs that are needed to open the pool. I've started putting together what I call a plan to open the pool, since we still, as long as the governor's orders are still in place, we still have to abide by certain rules. So as soon as I complete that plan, we can discuss that at the next service meeting. But just to get you a heads up that we're probably looking right now at least 40,000 to get the pool open. Now, Brian, I'm sorry?
I was going to say we should have that in the budget because we didn't open last year, and we were going to, granted, we moved money around with the COVID stuff, but we had planned on doing these last year, so we should have that kind of earmarked.
What
do you have in the budget, Brian, for the pool?
Right now, nothing, because I wasn't sure what was going on. I mean, I never got a final answer on what the final cost was. We just got that recently, Terry.
We just got them, yeah.
So I didn't know. I couldn't plug a number in the budget if I didn't know what it was. So
right, but what's our carryover on the pool? I'm going through all of my.
I'm telling you right now, the pool cannot handle it. The pool fund cannot handle it.
Handle the repairs?
Not the 36, not the 40,000. No.
Well, I'm looking at the appropriations,
mm-hmm.
and we got hold on, I need that estimated revenues carryover variance. So it couldn't, but I thought when we said last year we weren't going to open the pool. I mean, I know we put it's part of the general fund, but I thought we were going to try. I know part of it is the company kind of ghosted everybody and disappeared, but I mean, we had money set aside to do this last year, did we not? And then the company ghosted us.
No, there was no money set aside. I mean, what was all the money? The only money we had last year was what we carried over from the previous year, and all I paid out of that fund last year was utilities, because we had to keep the telephone on there, and there's still a little bit of electricity. So there's the carryover we did have wasn't enough to even cover the expense. I mean, that was the carryover.
Okay. So Brian, I'm on page 3 of the 2021 appropriations. It says swimming pool fund 5501.
Yeah.
So it's saying 99,105 total swimming pool for the budget.
Yeah, that's to run the operate this year.
So
That is
you're
just- That is
okay.
strictly-
I'm sorry,
that's
Brian.
strictly to operate it.
Gotcha. So if we use that 99, then that means we only have like 7,000 left after we do that. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I mean, that's to pay the lifeguards, the wages, and the benefit, to the electricity costs, because electricity costs runs about $8,000 to $9,000 alone in electricity costs. So what do I have there? Well, about 2 years ago, it was roughly 7,000. You still got the telephone bill. You have RETA costs in there because right now the income tax is going back into the swimming pool fund. You got the website maintenance. You got the insurance. You got the board of health.
As I said, we do have 20,000 in repairs and maintenance in there.
Right. How much
So we're
did we
20,000 short.
How much did not come over last year, Brian, from the percentage? You had that one nice spreadsheet that said this is how much based on the percentage the swimming pool should get. How much did we give back?
Oh, you mean they lost the income tax? They lost $26,000 last year in revenues. We didn't close the pool, but we should have stockpiled that, and then it probably would have been able to pay for it, or at least most of it. But we didn't. We lost all that income tax revenue by putting it into general fund last year.
So based on the 20,000 you have for repairs and maintenance this year, and the 26 we lost, we would have had enough to do the repairs.
Yes, if the income tax would have stayed going into the pool fund like it was, and we quit doing that last May. Everything went into the general fund starting in May.
So if we do a similar thing for the pool, if council wants to, like we did with the streets, because streets we have the same problem, we put it into general fund because we didn't know what COVID was going to do. If we do the same thing with the pool and do a transfer from the general fund to the pool fund of the $26,000, we then have sufficient funds to do the repairs.
Yeah, because the maintenance and repair. Yeah, I mean the 20,000. Yeah, we could use that. Yeah, if you move the 26,000, that would take that 20,000 up to 46,000, and that would leave a little bit of cushion there for other things. I would think that that would cover it. I mean, if we do all these repairs, I hope to God nothing happens to the rest of the equipment while we're there.
Right.
That's one of the things that the team is doing right now. They're trying to go through all the pumps and everything. They had high electric motors out there today to look at a pump. And Mr. Little had to rewire some of the electricity from sitting for a year. That was not done right in the first place. So we're trying to do that to make sure that, yes, if we do these repairs, we can open.
So I guess it does, and I think it kind of makes sense to do the transfer like we did on streets, because we did take the money because we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. And like you said, had it gone in there, it would have been in there and we would have had it for this year. And that also gives you as far as running the pool for the repairs and maintenance, you know, a hard and fast number when the next quote comes in. So, you know, if it's higher, we know what our limit is at that point.
Yeah. That makes sense to everyone?
I want to clarify something. The swimming pool last year, I just pulled up my spreadsheet, my summer income tax summary. Last year, the swimming pool lost 18,500 in revenues roughly. That's rounded. That was the net revenues they lost last year, 18,000. Just for clarification.
So we would have needed an additional anyhow. So I think we need to still go with the 26.
Okay, I see 18. So it would have, to do all the repairs would have required, you know, an additional 8,000 from the general fund if we wanted to do them.
Close.
Okay.
So I guess, Mr. Keller, I guess we need another motion to transfer 26,000 from the general fund to the pool fund.
Okay. Okay, I move that we take 26,000 out of the general fund, move it over to the swimming pool fund or the pool fund. Do I
For
hear a
repairs
second?
and maintenance.
For the maintenance, or, yeah, I guess you need a reason. Yep. I just say to fix the pool up for ready for this summer. And Bob seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Roll call, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Okay. Of course, I'm sure Jeff won't have that ready for tonight for, you know, moving money around. So this will probably be brought up at the next meeting. But I can mention in my committee report.
Well, and we'll have the motion to amend the budget as well, because it'll
that'd be
move it
three
over,
things
so
we
it'll,
yeah.
it'll change the appropriations on the pool side.
and Mayor,
Right.
couldn't they make the changes and then pass it without seeing that changes to like give it? I mean, I'm telling you, we need a budget pass tonight. I'm running out of money in service funds.
Yeah. So what'll happen is when it comes back up, there will be at this point 3 motions to modify the budget, which is just moving the monies that we've discussed during the finance meeting tonight, and then a motion to adopt the permanent appropriations budget as it was just amended.
Okay.
And that way it'll pass with those amendments, assuming they pass, of course. But you know, that way it'll pass tonight, and that we won't have to do a supplemental ordinance to change that.
Okay.
So Mayor, you want me to make 3 motions to amend the appropriate? Okay.
Yeah, I think to keep it clear for the minutes and the record and for the auditor, if they look at it,
Okay.
I think it would be best if we did it as 3 motions, since they're from 3 different areas.
Okay. I'm trying to write all that stuff down.
Yeah, and in between meetings, I'll transcribe my notes from here over to my council notes too.
Okay. Okay, Bob Hankinson or Terry or the mayor, anybody else have any more questions on the on new business in the finance committee? Anybody else have anything else to bring up? Okay, hearing none. I had that up once. Where's it at? Okay. All right, our next meeting will be on.
Wait a minute. Wasn't there something about a camera, Terry?
Yes, Mr. Foreman, what we decided is because they're not going to demo the cameras until next week, is that we're going to wait until after they decide what model they want. And then I will come back to council and ask for an increase in appropriations.
Okay, just checking. I
Okay.
thought there was something else we needed to address.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Anything else before? I think I've said this twice now, so 3 times to Sharon. Next meeting will be April the 12th at 6 p.m. Meeting's adjourned now.
6:54.
Yes.
All right. 4. All right, and then we go to rules.
Yeah.
Hamilton is absent. So, Mr. Foreman or Keller, one of the two of you want to run the meeting. So
I'll let Rick do it
there's
since
much
I
on the
ran that
agenda.
one.
Okay,
I'll
Mr.
pass the
Foreman.
buck.
What was that? Sorry, I got a phone call and I was talking on the phone while I was trying to
Well,
listen to you.
When you walk out of the room, people put you in charge.
Oh, no,
Yep.
I don't know how to run a meeting. Come on.
All right,
you'll
I'll
be
do
fine.
it. I
Okay.
can do it. No problem. Okay, it's 6:56. We'll go in. Is the recording still on?
Yep.
Okay, at
Still good to go.
6:56, the Rules Committee we call to order. Roll call, Brian.
Hamilton, he's absent,
He
correct?
is absent. Yep.
Keller?
Yes, I'm present, excuse me.
And Foreman.
Present.
Okay, also tonight we have the mayor, we have the village administrator, the police chief, fiscal officer Brian, I see Brandy's on, and of course Bob Hankson's on, and Barb and Brian. Okay, approval of the minutes of January the 11th. I looked at them earlier today. I didn't see anything wrong with them.
I looked at him as well. I make a motion, we approve him as written.
Okay, and I'll second it. Hearing no discussion on the motion, roll call, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Okay, visitors. Mayor, we don't have
Nothing.
anybody coming on, did we?
No,
No email or nothing. Okay.
no.
Going into 2021 goals, we had the cemetery project. I know that'd be an ongoing thing all year, probably.
Oh, I want to talk to it.
Okay.
All right, so we are working, continue to work on the cemetery project, and we've hit a little bit of a hiccup. Tim received I believe it was an email or a text, I forget which now, that someone had on one of the graves in the cemetery, I believe it was Maple Grove, had placed a concrete blanket on top of a grave. So I don't know if you're familiar with those or not, but I know like other ethnic cemeteries have those where they cover the top of the grave with a cement slab and then put the headstone at the end of it. Well, that is not something that we do in our cemetery. But as you know, Jeff was not available today. So I had to, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but Tim and I did some research. And while I couldn't find a specific ordinance that said that was not allowed, we do have the sign in the cemetery that says that you aren't allowed to put monuments or coverings or whatever on a grave without first contacting the street supervisor. So I was, again, that sign is like older documents, and it's okay, but you know, I like to have when we have a rule, a regulation like that, I like to have at least a ordinance number or somehow what gives authority to that sign, and I can't find it. So I'm going to have to work some more digging on this, but it does bring to the forefront that, you know, this is something that must now start to be something that people like to do instead of just traditional headstones. But the issue is that the maintenance of the cemetery of the graves, it makes it become a off the tractor manual maintenance. So we may want to think about when we bring back the rules and regs on the cemetery about putting that into the already established ordinance about the cleaning of the flowers and stuff. Tim did bring it to my attention today that we have a different time that Basel has to be cleaned than we have for Maple Grove to be cleaned. So that's one of those things we'll try to tidy up too. So just to let you know, that did arise. I'm probably going to reach out to the company and say, please do not proceed at this time because we should have been notified that you were laying this blanket of concrete. So does anybody have any feelings about this, or do you want me just to keep pursuing that sort of an avenue?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I can't believe a cement truck got in there without anybody ever knowing anything about it. Where was it? Beside Ace Hardware? Or the one up there on Baltimore?
You know, I let me ask Tim if he knows what cemetery that was. I have the email.
I've never heard of this before.
I thought it was Basel, but you are right. I mean, that's a big truck to be going in there for, you know, that it would be somebody wouldn't see. Okay, so whenever you want to find an email, you can't find it fast enough. I don't, oh, there it is. It is a grave site at, I believe it's Maple Grove. In fact, they're calling it a ledger. And this ledger can hold up to 1,400 pounds on top of it. But they want to also install a headstone on top of the ledger. So
Well,
yes, it's in Maple Grove.
Yeah, that took some time putting that in there, man.
I know. So we got this email on, what does it say?
Is there a picture of it? Because I'm having a hard time picturing this.
Can we do that, Mayor? I mean, can we do that? I mean, is that a privacy thing or anything? How about I forward you the email?
Sure, forward me the email real quick, and if we can pop it up on for everybody, I will. And if not, we can just, I mean, it's a headstone at a cemetery, so it's already kind of public.
Well, oh, okay.
And there's only one that we know of in the village, so
it's definitely only one. But again, it's yeah. So it's going to require manual. I call it manual maintenance because the mower can't run over the top of it.
Oh, there's nothing identifying in that. Let me.
Okay, then you can share.
Give me just a second here while you keep talking about it, and I'll.
I believe the ledger is what they're calling it, is at least 3 inches thick. So it's pretty thick. So 3 inches is pretty good size.
Is it going to block the spacing between the? Is it going to block the spacing between the headstones so the mower has to go in, go back out, go around, and come in and go back out? Is that the issue?
Well, it's worse than that because they'll have to go in, get off, fix it, go all the way around another row and come in the other side because, yeah, it's blocking it off that much.
It is hopefully shared, so.
Yeah, it is. I can see it now.
And it looks like it's down flush where you can just mow right over it.
According to my staff, no. If that's the way it was designed, you know.
I don't see the edge of it sticking up.
Okay.
But I mean, as much of a.
That's that dirt to hump.
I agree. yeah, it looks like it could be, if it's not flush, made flush. But at the same time, do we want to mow over a whatever cement blanket?
Well,
Well, I mean-
Mayor, let me say something here. All veterans markers that you get from the government goes in the ground, and they do mow over them. It's a military marker. To me, there's, I mean, I can't call this a marker. I don't even know what you want to call it, except a concrete slab. But do we want the cemetery for whatever you can put in the on your grave?
Exactly.
And I think that's part of those rules and regs we need to talk about. You're right, Chuck.
So I think, going forward, we can definitely do something to prevent or limit this, but this one's obviously already down. So now we got to figure out how to deal with it.
Well, like the marker there to the left at the upper corner, that looks like one you can just mow over. And
Yes,
I'm
that's
sure
a
they
military
do.
marker.
And they mow right over them.
Yes, they do.
And I'm just wondering if the actual issue isn't that it's raised up and needs to be lowered down so it doesn't add significant maintenance issues.
Make it like the military marker, more flush
Where
with
it's
the
down
ground.
flush with the existing surface, and then it's not the obstruction that it is today.
And
I mean,
so
because
then,
I don't know, is this a religious thing that we're stepping on religious toes here if we like completely eliminate them? Like if they're down flush, they're not a maintenance issue, and we can still accommodate a religious something.
not sure. I
I'm
think
not
that's
either.
a good question.
What about the issue of, depending upon how well that soil is packed below, going over that with a tractor could possibly crack it as well. I mean, depending upon.
Well, she was
That's
talking
true.
about the PSI on the concrete and how much weight it would hold. That was more than a mower.
They did say it was 3 inches thick. The one of the things that I don't even know how to answer it. I mean, grass will start because the ground is not forgiving. The ground this will sink into the ground eventually. It's not, the ground will just suck up tombstones if they're not in there right. Does that make sense? Like go over to where,
Yeah, slab will sink into the earth. There's no doubt about it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. So then
But that's a maintenance thing for the people that, I mean,
Is
I
it-
don't,
does it become our responsibility then as the, taking care of the cemetery or what? See, that's the other issue I have.
If it
Perpetual
sinks into the
care.
ground,
If it goes into the ground, is a part of what they would consider perpetual care to make sure that it doesn't go in.
I don't know, but I'm going to go with no.
that's where I was leaning.
I will say so too.
And that's what I'm saying, but I think that has to be, someone needs to know that. You can't just put this in and expect us to maintain it and all of that, because it will sink into the ground. But
Well,
this is the
and I
first
guess
time. We didn't have anybody even ask us, by the way. This just appeared in an email on Monday. And it was like, what? I mean, on Friday.
And I guess, Terry, your comment there for me raises a bigger question where you talked about perpetual care.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of perpetual care, I think of a mausoleum. I think of the grounds around a headstone, but I don't necessarily equate a municipality or anybody owning a cemetery responsible for the perpetual care of all of the gravestones in there and the headstones.
And one more issue here, Terry and the mayor and whatever, is if say there's a grave down that row that is not sold yet and it does sell, and you have to get a backhoe in there to dig a grave,
that will be,
that, you know what I mean? You couldn't drive over it.
Mm-mm.
So you're blocking that row.
Yeah. You know, I think this is a good question for that new cemetery organization that I just joined. I think we have a meeting coming up, and maybe it's something that I reach out to them to ask them how they handle this type of markers.
Yeah, to Chuck's point, if you had one, you could go in from either end and get to it. But if you had 3 or 4, now you can't get past one to get to the other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so Terry, you're going to try and look into this and get back with us.
No,
And
I more to come on this, but I think this is an example of how we need to pull all of those rules and regulations and everything together, since, you know, we just, you know,
yep,
I know
yeah,
it's hard when you talk about someone's loved one, but I think it's important to, like all of the thoughts tonight about how do we get to the next one. So yeah. I'll
well, you
continue.
know, yeah, because some cemeteries, you can't even have headstones in it.
That is correct.
You just allowed to put a marker in the ground where they can go in and mow over top of them. So we can do anything we want to for the cemeteries.
Yes, we can. And that's what, you know, we'll try for next meeting next month to have what I call a draft of the current cemeteries, you know, the current cemeteries rules and regs and what I want to add. I think that Tim did do some checking, and he talked to someone on Snyder Church, that cemetery that's out there. And he was told that they probably should this probably should be removed because it really shouldn't have been there without permission in the first place. So,
okay.
But again, that's going to be hard too. So I'll continue to work it. But I just wanted you to know that, yes, we still are working on the cemetery project a lot. So.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else on cemetery projects? Also, 2021 goals to the rules of council.
I think what I'm looking for this one is later this year. Before next year, we're all sent a copy of the current rules of councils, and I believe there's some changes that need to be done with that. So when you get time and you look through and you do see something, if you could send it back to me so that I can put together, much like I did for the chicken and duck verbiage change, so you can see what it is and what you would like it to be. So I'm just looking for input on that, but hopefully this is something we can have done towards the end of the year. So next year, when you all pass the rules of council, they'll be amended correctly.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. Number 3, COVID policy.
I have turned my 100%. I know this came up in one of our council meetings about how we needed to revisit our COVID policy. I've kind of turned my attention onto the pool and trying to stay and trying to stay within the parameters that we have for the governor set down. So really, this COVID policy started out, I think, as far as the staff policy, but I've kind of extended it into what's the village going to do when we open up the shelter houses, and what are we going to do when we open up the pools? Because we have started taking reservations for the shelter house. And I think that we need to have an agreement, because I personally do not want to have to go to make sure everybody's 6 feet apart and, you know, all of that, all of those policies. But just whoever does rent the shelter houses, they have to know that these are the rules, and they have to police themselves. We can't do it. As a part of that COVID policy, is I'm working with Casey. Tim had turned me on to Casey Farmer, because they have a disinfectant machine. Instead of having Peg go in there and wipe everything down with bleach or whatever after it's been rented, this machine, she can go in and spray. So I'm getting a quote on the sprayer and the chemicals for them that we can use at the shelter house and the pool. So because right now it says every 2 hours, certain areas of your pool should be wiped down. So this will help us with that. So I've kind of restructured the COVID policy, if everyone's okay with that, since right now and on hand, we need to get these shelter houses rented out, get income coming in for us, and then also have the pool ready. Does that make sense?
And that makes sense. Should we add additional cost to that, to the people that want to rent this out, the shelter house?
That's a good point. And Brian and I did have a short conversation about that today. Right now, when we rent it out, they get a $50, isn't it $50, Brian, refund back if they leave the shelter house clean?
Yeah, if they leave it clean, they get $50 back, yes.
So I don't know whether we don't raise the price of the shelter house, but we decrease the amount they get back so that we cover our expenses, you know, for the disinfectant.
Yeah, because for what we rent them shelter house out, that's pretty good price. And I think, you know, I don't think it's gonna hurt anybody if they have to pay a little bit more.
So you mean add it to instead of giving them?
Either way, I somehow we shouldn't, the village shouldn't cost us as a village. It should cost the people that renting it out. We should be in there trying to make some money on them shelter houses. You know what I'm saying?
And if we get one of those cleaning machines, then maybe we can figure out how long, you know, how much it costs to clean a shelter house or disinfect it with one, how long it takes Peg and the materials. And, you know, maybe it's out of your $50 cleaning deposit, you get half of it back because the other half is what it takes to do the COVID cleaning or something.
Yeah.
And that way we can cover that cost without actually increasing the cost.
And then
But
also, if we ever get normal and we don't have to do that anymore, then we wouldn't have to change the price. So I think that's a good suggestion.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the last is the pay plan, Mr. Keller. This is the year for us to go back and review our pay plan, which I think is in the desperate need of being reviewed. So I want to keep that on the agenda, and I don't believe that we've sent the current pay plan out, and I can do that. So when we have time for a discussion, we'll have it. So to me, these are 4 important things, and we'll just keep rolling on them. I would like to back up just for one moment to the cemetery. One of the things that we did is that we did get that price on the cemetery window to have the stained glass or the color glass to be put back in. Instead of doing that, I had a suggestion from someone about what if we just take the color glass out and just put clear glass in there or frosted. If that's what you would like me to pursue, I can pursue getting a cost of that. I had intended to do it for this meeting, but I can have that ready for next council meeting impact.
That'd be all right with me. You know, frosted glass be fine or something, you know. Yeah, that'd be fine with me. How about you, Rick?
Yeah, I have no problem with frosted. Did we get a quote on stained or not?
We did, and it was around, I believe, 9,000, 8 or 9,000, but we didn't get a quote on just like a frosted glass. So we'll have to get that. If you'd like me to pursue that, the team can go ahead and pursue that as an option.
Hey, Terry, this is Bob.
Yes, Bob.
Hey, as I said before, I've been past that mausoleum probably a few thousand times, and I couldn't even told you even if it had windows in it. So I don't think anybody really pays any attention to it.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and get us a price if we, instead of doing the colored glass, and go from there. Brian, do we have money in the cemetery fund to be able to do it?
I already put money in the budget for the stained glass, so.
Okay, perfect. So we do. All right. Well, we don't need another motion, Mr. Keller.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Keller.
Okay, anybody? Okay, going in old business. I see we don't have any old business. New business. Anybody have anything they want to add to the new business tonight?
I would like, I'm not sure whether it's here or it's in console, but I'll get all my talking done in rules. Some of, staff does a lot of a lot of these projects, the staff is going to do themselves, which saves the village a whole lot of money. I mean, our staff is very, very talented. You know, there's times when I call them MacGyvers because, you know, they do come up with some really good ideas. So having said that, is that if we take the one bid from the pool to try to keep it as little as possible, the team will have to remove the concrete from the bottom of the pool themselves. That will greatly reduce the cost to repair the pool. Also, we have a couple water lines that we don't need a PTI or engineering for, that the staff is going to replace themselves too. Because we have a Peg who is totally devoted to the parks and mowing and et cetera, and also now the new sign project, we usually put a part-timer on about 3 months out of the year. I think 3 or 4 months out of the year. What I would like to propose is that we put 2 part-timers on, because we almost need that one person devoted to mowing. Peg can't do it all herself, which then would allow us to have an extra pair of hands or muscles to be able to do some of these jobs. We have a lot going on at the wastewater treatment plant with all of our new processes in place there. So it's not always going to be always to have Mr. Little or Brad freed up to help the rest of the team. So I guess what I'm proposing is that we hire not 1, but 2 part-time people that would only go for the summer months, and instead of hiring 1 this year. That was a long ways around the bush to tell you I'd like to hire 2 part-time people, basically.
Yeah, you could have just said, can we hire 2 part-timers this year?
Thank you, Mr. Foreman.
Does that have to come in service? Can we do it here and also talking to Brian, do we have the budget? Do we have money in the budget to do 2 part-time?
Well, I budgeted, unfortunately, in the budget, I have enough in the budget for 1 part-timer right now. I can pull up, I have access to my files here. I can play with the numbers before council meeting to give you that, what we'd have, because I mean, we'd have to increase a couple lines and a couple other funds. I know that.
Before council in 7 minutes?
Well, I have access to my files. I can tell you, let's see.
Brian has his new laptop. He is really techie now. Trust me. He's on it.
I think he said, will you help me, Terry? I think 3 times tonight.
Well, yeah. Well, that was on the PowerPoint stuff, Rick.
All right. So, Mr. Keller, to answer your question, can we talk about it in council?
Yeah, why don't we
just
do that?
before we talk about budget, and that'll give Brian time to say how much we would need. Is that okay?
Yeah,
all right,
sure.
that's all I have. Thank you.
I'm pulling up that spreadsheet right now.
Okay, work on it, Brian. You got 8 minutes.
I got 8 minutes.
Okay. If anybody else don't have any more new business, our next meeting for rules is April the 12th at 6:45, or immediately past the Finance Committee meeting. Meeting's adjourned.
All right, everyone. We'll see you in 7 minutes for council.